Solving for this radical equation here, so we have square root of y plus 10 equals to y minus 2. That's what's happening here. So we have square root here. So we're solving for y, correct? So the first thing we got to do all the time when we had these kinds of problems is to be able to remove the radical. So we want to take it off. And to do that, because this one is square root, we're going to square both sides. If this were to be a cube root, we're going to do what? To take the power 3 of each side. Okay? So in this case, we go with square. Both sides. So whatever you do on one side, you always got to do the same thing on the other side. Always like a balance. Okay? So what's going to happen here? So once you do that, the 2 and the radical are gone. And that's the reason why you're doing it. So this becomes y plus 10 equals, so what's happening here? So yeah, y minus 2 second power is the same thing as having y minus 2 times y minus 2. Okay? So that now you can apply the FOIL method in order to remove the parentheses. So that means what? So that means you're doing y times y times negative 2, 2 times negative 2 times y, negative 2 times negative 2. All right? So you bring down the y plus 10 because you haven't touched it. And now y times y is going to give us what? So it's going to give us y to the second power. Y times negative 2 is negative 2y. Then negative 2 times y is going to give us what? Another negative 2y. And negative 2 times negative 2 is going to give us what? Positive 4. All right? Now we got to combine like terms. Okay? And then see what's going to happen. So like terms meaning what? That means you have negative 2y, negative 2y. That will give us what? Negative 4y. So you have y plus 10 equals to y squared minus 4y plus 4. All right? So that's what we have so far. So if this is what we have, so what's happening after that? So then, combining like terms means we can just take the y, combine it with negative y. Yeah? So we have negative y, then negative y here. So what are we going to get from that? The 10 is back. This is equal to what? Y to second. Then minus 5y, because negative 4, negative 1 is negative 5y, then plus 4. We're not finished because the 10 also got to be combined to 4. Okay? They are just constants there. All right? So that will give us negative 10, then negative 10. So we end up with y to the second power. And then what's happening this side? 0. Let's don't forget about that. Very important. And then minus 5y equals to what? What is 4 minus 10? We subtract 4 from 10, which is 6. And then we keep the sign of the highest number. That will give us negative 6. So we end up with 0 equals to y to the second power minus 5y minus 6. So as you guys can see, when we combine it on this side, we combine everything from the left side to the right side. Why did we do that? It's because we have the y to the second power here, the highest power. We move everything to the highest power. That's all. Okay? So now we continue. So this now goes up here. So we end up with 0 equals to y to the second power minus 5y minus 6. So this is a trinomial, 3 terms. So that's a polynomial of 3 terms. So we can use what? The AC method. Okay? So the A in this case is 1, B equals to negative 5, C equals to negative 6. So the AC, that means we have 1 times negative 6, which is negative 6. Then meaning that we're looking for 2 numbers. When you multiply them, you end up with negative 6. The same 2 numbers, when you add them up, you got to have negative 5. All right? So forget about the sign for the minute. The first thing we got to find is the factors of 6. What are the 2 numbers that can multiply to give you to give you 6? So we have 2 by 3. We have 6 times 1. Right? So we can stop here. Okay? So now the next question is, we're looking for 2 numbers. When you multiply them, you get negative 6. The same 2 numbers, when you add them up, you get what? Negative 5. Is this going to work out? No. Because if this were to be negative 2, negative 3, that gives you negative 5 if you add. But when you multiply, you get what? Positive 6. So it does not agree. Then when it comes to this one, if this one were to be -6 and this one is +1, -6 times +1 is -6. -6 plus 1 is -5. All right? Somebody could have thought about +6 and -1, but that would not work. Okay? Because +6 times -1 is going to give you what? So if you had +6 and -1, that will give you -6 when you multiply. But when you add, that will give you what? +5. And you have -5 here. So -6, +1 are the two factors. All right? So once you have the two factors in these cases, bingo. That means what? You have 0 equals to what? Y minus 6 times y plus 1. So you guys always can check with our videos when it comes to factoring trinomials. We have plenty of videos on that, so you guys can always check them out. So once we have the two factors like this, y minus 6 times y plus 1 equals to 0, the best thing to do is just to take y minus 6 equals to 0, all right, and solve for it. So that will give us what? Plus 6, of course. And then we end up with y equals to +6. All right? And then we have y plus 1 equals to 0. Okay? And then that gives you what? -1, -1. So you end up with y equals to -1. So you have these two potential answers. Okay? Because what we're going to do right now is to check if they are indeed the correct answers. All right? So let's go for it. So you have y equals to 6. That means we go into the original equation, which is square root of y plus 10 equals to y minus 2. And then check if we have a true statement or not. So that means what? So that means we go in a square root of y, right? So we're taking this one here. So square root of y, that means what? So y is what? Y is 6 plus 10 should be equal to 6 minus 2. So these two should be equal to each other, the answer. So 6 plus 10 is what? 16. So square root of 16 equals to what is 6 minus 2 is what? Is 4. What is square root of 16? 4. 4 equals to 4. So this one is a true statement. All right? So this one is a true statement. So that's good. That means y equal to 6 is definitely a good answer for this equation. Now let's go for the second one. All right? So then when we come here to check, all right? So checking part for this one, so we end up with then square root of, so let me come to this side. So we have square root then of, so instead of 6, we have -1 plus 10. That should be equal to, then instead of 6, we still have -1 and -2. All right? So again, these two numbers got to be the same once you finish to work on them. So you have -1 plus 10 is what? Is +9. So square root of 9, and -1, -2 is what? Is -3. So what is square root of 9? +3. -3, are they same? No. 3 and -3 are not same numbers at all. They are not. So once this one is a false statement, okay? So this one's false statement. So that means y equals to -1 is not a solution to the problem. So y equals to 6 is the only solution to our problem. Square root of y plus 10 equals to y minus 2. You have to be very careful with these kinds of problems because you did well. See all the problem that you did? You did very well up to here, and then you end up getting y equals to 6, y equals to -1, and then you're done, you finish, you're happy, but yet you are not finished. You're not going to get all the answers. I mean, all the correct grade. You're not going to get that. Okay? So you check them out to see if you have a true statement. If you have a true statement, that means that number there, that solution is the correct one. So this is it. All right? Thank you. Voila.